this episode, we would like to say that in the spirit of reconciliation, that we acknowledge the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to the land, sea and community.
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Spaghettification podcast. My name's AstroSteph.
And I'm the Drunk Astronomer. So, welcome back to
Welcome back.
a rather random episode of Spaghettification, because we realised we'd never interviewed each other.
Mm-hmm.
So nobody really knows diddly squat about us. They know a lot about our guests, but not much about us.
Mm-hmm.
So we thought, let's talk about ourselves and be narcissistic. And
No, I think we've both got interesting things to talk about.
Who's your guest? Do you have a
My
guest?
guest is Marcus Garrow, and so we also know him as the Drunk Astronomer. By day, the Drunk Astronomer fights building crime by designing amazing pieces of architecture for his science, battling local council planning departments and building surveyors to create the most magnificent outcomes possible. However, when he's doing some superhero moves,
Fisticuffs.
However, one night falls, we find him under the stars enjoying a cold beer and imaging with his phone camera. So he reckons that a phone camera is pretty good replacement for proper astro gear. Away from work and his hobby of astrophonetography, which I think he's made up, the Drunk Astronomer dabbles...
I did make that up, yes, absolutely made that up.
The Drunk Astronomer dabbles in being president of the Astronomical Society of Victoria and enjoys walks on the beach, watching sunsets. Oh no, that's not right. He enjoys hiking, generally being wild, crazy and creative. Welcome.
I'm pretty sure everyone knows how weird and wild and creative and stupid I am. The really interesting thing is I don't have two. Well, I do have two children, and then myself as the third child.
So my first question for you, Mark, is you're an architect by day. So tell us what you do there.
I don't have a receptionist, so there's no Mr. Kelly's Architectural Services. Betty speaking, can I help you? I am my own receptionist, so I do it all. I design everything. I take it through to council, do all the town planning, write all of the fun, exciting reports that you have to write in response to planning regulations. And then I do all of the construction documentation, cabinetry design, lighting layouts, fittings and finishes. So I get to select all the taps and toilets and
nice.
kitchen sinks and stone bench tops and all of that fun stuff for all my clients. It's a lot of fun. I've been doing it since... So I finished high school in 95 and started doing that in 96. So I started doing that while I was studying. I started working. So I did 1 year of TAFE at Holmes Glen, and then started studying part-time from there and worked full-time. So I've been in the industry essentially since 97. So what's that?
That's
25
a long time.
years.
25 years, yeah.
And I'm 44 years young, so...
Yeah, so what sorts of things do you usually design? Is it homes or is it more for like corporate sort of clients? Or
what do we say? What's that saying? Jack of all trades, master of none. Started off in residential, doing extensions and renovations and new homes. Have dabbled over the years in apartment complexes. Got recently started tipping my hat into childcare centres, and even more recently aged care facilities. I've done real estate agents, commercial offices, so you name it, I've done it. Multi-unit townhouse developments, the works. That's whatever's going around, whatever my clients want me to do.
Have you ever worked for like a big firm, or have you always sort of been at
no, I've worked for lots of different companies. I've worked for the devil, known as the volume builder industry. Spent some time working with the likes of Porter Davis Homes, did some contracting work to Simmons, got out of that probably in mid-2000s and started working for myself, and now do a lot of consulting work to developers. And
so my next question is, how did you get started in astronomy and astrophotography?
That's an interesting one. Because as a kid, I liked space. I loved Star Wars. Liked watching Deep Space Nine. Star Trek wasn't really a Trekkie. Star Wars is better than Star Trek. Sorry, guys. But I can remember sitting in the boot of my parents' station wagon. Yes, in the boot, without a seatbelt, laying down, because that's what you did in the late 80s or in the 80s. In the VC Commodore, looking at the bright stars in the sky as we're driving home from my grandparents. Liked watching space stuff, learning about space and the planets, but never really did anything else other than that. Apparently, I saw Halley's Comet. I don't remember. I don't remember. Apparently, my mother says I did. I still don't believe it because I don't remember it.
When was it? 86 or something?
But yeah, didn't really do much with astronomy and science other than, watching YouTubes and watching documentaries and that. And then my son, when he was 8, showed a very, very keen interest in astronomy.
Mm-hmm.
So because of that, he got a telescope for Christmas that year. He joined the ASV as a junior, and I started taking him along to the junior meetings once a month. And then I started taking him along to Deep Sky section meeting up at the Dark Sky site. And I started falling in love with astronomy. It was so much fun. And the more I did it, the more I enjoyed it. The more I enjoyed it, the more I wanted to share it with people. And I always said when I first started doing it, I always said that I would never be one of those astrophotographers. It's the dark side. I'm not going to go to the dark side. I'll stay on it. I'll be a visual astronomer. They're the cool guys. And I became friends with the Deep Sky section director, Paul Gardner. We both have an affinity, a love for beer, for all things craft beer. And so we would then just love to catch up and share drinks under the stars and look at the objects, look at galaxies, look at nebulas, look at planetary nebulas, find some obscure things to look at. And most of my knowledge comes from him. I've learned a lot from him. And it just evolved from there. And then I got a phone, and I used to take my phone and hook it up to the ASV's 25-inch and take photos of the moon or photos of Jupiter. And I'm like, I wonder what I can do with that. Can I push that further? So then I started taking Milky Way shots with it all. And then I got a $10 adapter and hooked it onto the 40-inch that the ASV's got and started taking photos of Orion. I'm like, oh, this is really cool. And I've got an 8-inch Meade. So I started setting that up in the backyard just prior to lockdown, to COVID hitting, and attached my phone to it because it's 2-star aligned, so it tracks. And I started taking 10-second, 30-second exposures of objects using an app. And I'm like, this is really cool. I wonder if I can get an app that allows me to take raw data images so I can stack them. And I found one. And then all of a sudden, it's evolved from there to I now use a Google Pixel 5, which I've got here for those who are watching on YouTube, and the person watching the stream now will see. It's just hooked onto a little Saxon phone holder. And I have an app on that called Deep Sky Camera App, which takes photos in raw data format, and it lets me do 32-second exposures. I can change the ISO settings like most digital SLRs can, and I now have a Skywatcher Star Adventure, a Skywatcher ED80 telescope, and I get them set up, hook the phone onto it, and I can do 120, 240 exposure run if I want now. I don't have to sit out there. When I first started, I have to sit out there and click the Bluetooth clicker. Take a photo, 30 seconds later, click it again, take another photo. Now I can do pretty much what most astrophotographers do. So last night, the cycling was on, and I want to watch the Tour de France. I watch it every year. So I put it on Lagoon Nebula, put the phone on there, 120 images, start, and went inside in the warmth and sat and watched the cycling, had a beer and ate cheese. So that's sort of where the journey started and where it's at now. And that's all because of Blake.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Well, that sort of preempts my next question, which was your children are both super into astronomy. Did they tag along with you, or were you following their interests?
Oh, no. Well, see, Blake is the reason that I'm doing what I do. Like, he's the reason I got into astronomy because I used to take him to juniors, and then I started helping Chris out a little bit with juniors. Chris Rudge, the guy who runs the junior section. And he's the reason that I do as much as I do in the ASV, because he's the reason that I got interested in it. But yeah, because of him, that's it. And Sadie, she loves it because I love it, and because like she's my little princess. And she just likes to spend as much time as she can with me because I spend so much time doing astronomy. She spends a lot of time doing astronomy, and she really loves doing it. So, got a public viewing night for the ASV this Saturday night, and she's coming with me to help out because she wants to. She came to the talk that I hosted for the ASV on the Sunday just gone, where we had 2 NASA scientists because she wanted to come and hang out and be a part of it. She helped set up. Sorry, not set up, no. So she helped pack up, and she had questions that she wanted to ask the scientists as well. So her interest comes from me. My interest comes from Blake.
Yeah, my dad is very similar. We'll talk about this when we do my interview. But
Don't spoil the interview.
Yeah, my dad has definitely got more into astronomy as I have got more into it. I think when I was a kid and I was really into it, I was a bit more sort of private about it. Like my parents obviously knew that I was very into astronomy, but we grew up in Newcastle, which is, I would say, a bit of a different environment than here in Melbourne, where there's a lot more sort of going on that kids and teenagers can get into. But anyway, we'll talk more about that later.
I'm gonna ask you about that one later on now.
Yeah. So I am going to ask you now about the Astronomical Society of Victoria. So you've mentioned the juniors section. So
yes.
Do you want to tell us about that? Because my first part was, how did you first get involved? Which it sounds like this is part of.
Got involved through juniors with Blake, and used to take him to juniors on a Friday night once a month. And the very first time I took him, he sat on my lap outside for the first nearly hour. Didn't want to go inside. Then got him inside, sat on my lap inside, didn't really want to converse. And then by the time he'd stopped doing juniors and was sort of getting into radio astronomy section and deep sky section, he was doing talks for the ASV. And so any opportunity that I got to put him in front of the right people that he needed to be in front of, I would take. And that just meant that I started meeting more and more people in the society and getting to know more and more people and coming to the conclusion that these people are they're my people. I like these sort of people. I get along with these people. And I have a natural flair for creativity and being able to do things that people think can't be done. If you tell me something can't be done, I will do my damnedest to make sure that I can show you that it can be done. And an example of that is the NASA scientists that we had talk for the ASV on Sunday night. That came about 4:00 on a Thursday afternoon. Hey, got 2 scientists. They want to do a talk for the ASV. Can you make that happen? Can we get a talk happening? And I'm like, yep, let me see what I can do. And within 24 hours, we had a venue locked in. We had events ticketing set up. And we were marketing it to the members and the public. And that YouTube video is one of the most popular YouTube videos the ASV's had. My theory has always been things can happen. And because of that, I just started getting involved with the ASV and doing lots and lots of stuff with the ASV. Going to astronomy for the people so I could share the night sky with people. I don't know a great deal about it. I'm not the smartest person when it comes to astronomy. I know enough to be dangerous, but I'm not. I don't ever profess to have the knowledge that a lot of the guys in the ASV have. My enjoyment of the ASV comes from me being able to bring the right people in to give that knowledge to the public and to the ASV members. I like creating the events, coming up with the ideas of this is what we're going to do, this is how we're going to do it, and people are going to love it, and usually they do. But I'm not the one that will ever get up there and say, hey, I'm going to teach you about the Big Bang, or I'm going to teach you about black holes, or I'm going to teach you how to do astrophotography, or this is how you read the night sky. They're not my skills. I don't have that knowledge that the other guys do. But what I can do is bring the right people and put them in front of the right people. And I love doing that. It's so much fun.
So for those of us who are not super familiar with it like you are, what are the different sections of the Astronomical Society of Victoria?
There are, I think there's over 20 different sections now. So let's see if I can remember them. So we've got juniors, we've got radio astronomy, that's 2. We've got Deep Sky, Astrophotography, Cosmology and Astrophysics. We have a new astronomy group. We have a computer section. We have Lunar and Planetary, Solar, I said new astronomers, didn't I? We have Bendigo section so the Bendigo District Astronomical Society merged with the ASV quite a few years back now. So they have their own section. We have club section for new members to go to, or for members who just want to hang out with other members of the ASV at our lodge, and you can look through telescopes and that. Diurnals for those more retired members who just want to catch up and talk about astronomy. Instrument making section. There are others. We've recently created a women's group for female members who don't feel comfortable posting on our public groups, or just want to do things with other females, so that there's that sort of empowering them. And that group is starting to look at grants funding for underprivileged, for women in females in underprivileged areas, to try and get them into astronomy. So that's a new part of the society that one of our female members has been working on, that I've sort of given a free rein to go and do, because it's important. I think that's pretty much. We've got a Shepparton section now as well. We have a Heathcote section as well. So our Heathcote members can get together, and our Shepparton members can get together. We have a loan telescope program, so members can borrow telescopes. We can borrow a solar scope as well if you're part of the solar section. It's not easy to get a hold of, but you can get it. I think that's pretty much all of them as he goes and checks the website.
And so what do the different sections do? Is it more like getting together to do nighttime observing, or is it more like discussions, talks, that sort of thing?
Solar section meet once a month on a Sunday during the day, obviously, so they'll view the sun and talk about the sun and whatnot. Lunar and Planetary guys, they kind of do their own thing at home, and then meet once a month and go, here's a pretty picture of the planet that I took, and they'll talk about the planets and that. But we have Facebook groups for them all, so that they all chat there and catch up there. Astrophotography guys do their own thing as well, but they'll also go up to the dark sky site on the new moons and set up their gear and image from the dark sky site. Deep Sky, we literally just meet once a month at the dark sky site on a new moon, or near to a new moon, and spend the night under the stars with the big 40-inch or the 25-inch telescope up there, just viewing. So Paul will put together a viewing list, and I think last month we had like 60 members turn up for Deep Sky.
Amazing.
The astrophotography section, they'll also do. Sarah, who's part of that, Sarah Aurora, she's been doing some nightscape courses, photography courses for our members.
Cool.
Yeah, so we do lots of training for them. We try and put up on as many events as we can for our members and the public as well. So.
Very nice.
Instrument making, they make telescopes in instrument making. So that's what they do. They'll construct, grind and polish their own mirrors and everything. So it's one of the more popular sections.
That surprised me. I don't know why. There's a How It's Made video, which went up on YouTube the other day, about how sort of telescopes are made. And it's really cool because I've sort of heard about how big telescopes are made, and it's very, very complex and things. But watching them sort of grind this like mirror by hand, it's like, oh, that's actually pretty cool. So you're the president of the Astronomical Society of Victoria as of this year. So what do you do in the organisation?
So isn't that scary? They've let a dude with a rainbow hair mohawk be the president of the ASV. Sometimes I have to pinch myself and go, holy crap, in the 100th year that the society has been around, and this is our 100th year, I'm the president of it. I would never have thought as a kid that, when I grow up, I'm going to be the president of the Astronomical Society of Victoria, the largest amateur astronomy club in Australia, if not possibly the Southern Hemisphere. That's and during its 100th year celebrations, and being responsible for creating or helping create and coordinate and run all of our events for it to celebrate it. It's quite an honour. I never thought I would. When I joined the ASV, I never thought that would be something I would do. Never saw myself actually being on committee.
Yeah.
But I didn't like the way a lot of things were going in the society. I felt like it was very insular. It had a real boys' club feel, and it just didn't feel right. It didn't feel comfortable. It felt like it was, a bit of a boys' club, all about protecting and keeping information inside the club. And I'm like, hang on, that doesn't seem right. That doesn't seem like what a society like this should be doing. It should be doing more outreach. It should be sharing as much knowledge as it can, because by sharing as much knowledge as you can, you get more people wanting to be part of the journey. Therefore, they want to become members.
Yes.
And so I joined the society, joined the committee or council as the, visual aids merchandise, basically. And then came on as the secretary, and then last year as the vice president, and then this year as the president.
Nice.
And in that time, we've gone from not doing very much in a way of public outreach online to every single one of our monthly meetings, which are now called Astro Talks. Thank you for the idea, TED Talk. We stole that one from you. Yeah, so now all of our Astro Talks are streamed live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. We have hundreds to thousands of people watching them now. The one we did on the weekend with the NASA scientists, the YouTube page the YouTube one has almost clocked over 1,000 views already. Over 1,000 people got to listen to those people talk, those amazing scientists who are talking about New Horizons and the Lucy mission. So being able to get guys like Alan Duffy, people like Claire Kenyon, female astronomers like Claire Kenyon, yourself even giving talks, Dr. Sarah Webb. That was one thing I tried to push very hard last year, was more female scientists giving talks for the society, because it's important. We've had plenty of male scientists come on, and they're easy to get, but finding female scientists is not easy. And so we made it a concerted effort to get as many as we could. I think we had 12 in a row, actually. Yeah, 12 in a row talk, which was great. And then I think it was broken by that run of female scientists speaking for the ASV was broken by Dwayne Hamaker talking about Indigenous astronomy. Even pushing into those areas. So just trying to share as much knowledge as we can.
Yes.
Totally forgot what even the question was now. I was rambling.
It was, what do you do as a president? So,
well, that's what I do. There you go. That's what I do as a president. Part of my role as the president is working on a subcommittee that we created, and we've been working on for the last few years to try and get an observatory built in the middle of Caulfield Racecourse as part of the redevelopment. That's going along nicely. Whether that happens or not, who knows? It would be great if it did, but there's still a lot of water to go under the bridge on that one.
Did you
creating events like Sea Lake Astrofest? This is a massive event, so much so that ScienceWorks, while they can't be involved this year, want to be involved next year. We've got Swinburne Uni and Osgrave coming up, and hopefully we've got Melbourne Uni as well, haven't we?
You have to send me an email. You haven't sent me an email yet about it.
I've got to do that.
I can't do anything until I get the details.
All right, I'll do that. I'll get that email to you. I'll cut that bit out though. Just pretend we've got Melbourne Uni coming up. We've got the local council, Beloit Council, working with us on this. The Sea Lake community are loving it. We've got something ridiculous, like 28 events happening over the Melbourne Cup long weekend up there. Public viewing nights, astrophotography sessions, nightscape photography sessions, learning to take sunset photos. We have you and Dr. Sarah Webb speaking as keynote speakers up there. We have a Q&A dinner. We have a pub quiz as well, event up there, a science in the pub quiz. Science for kids, solar astronomy. The radio astronomy guys are putting something together to go up there for this event. The first public viewing night is already almost booked out. I think there's less than 10 tickets left for it. So there's 150 people on Saturday, the 29th of October, are going to be going to that viewing night out at Lake Tyrrell under those beautiful Ball 1 skies. So yeah, we've got doing things like that, things that we've never really done before, and all of that is sharing knowledge in the world of astronomy, and it's putting us out there, and it's getting people to know who we are, and then saying, how can we work with you? We're finally starting to reach out into STEM, and Chris Rudge has been talking to a lot of schools about how we can assist them from an astronomy point of view. A lot of schools have got telescopes, but they don't necessarily use them because they don't know how to use them, and we're offering to teach them how to use them. In fact, I think he wants to talk to you about telescopes in schools.
Yes. We can talk about that offline.
Yeah, we'll talk about that offline. Yeah. So that's what I do as president. That's it.
Yeah, that's amazing. So when you started, when I'm guessing this was 7 or 8 years ago now, could you have imagined
8 years this November? Yeah, 8 years this November.
Could you have imagined this change in the society?
Yeah, I could actually. Yeah, absolutely. When I first joined, I didn't consider it. I didn't know too much, but once I got to know the society and what it was like, I could see what it could be. It's not there yet. It won't be there for a while, but it's heading in the right direction. Definitely heading in the right direction.
So, yeah, I'm really happy that I've been involved more, because when I started masters, etc., we never heard from the ASV about giving talks or anything. We would maybe meet 1 or 2 people at the occasional thing, and it just wasn't that interesting getting any of us really to give talks. And it's completely different now. It's like, you're like, give me as many people as you can.
Absolutely. It was a secret boys club. It really was.
Yeah.
It was, you can't tell anybody about the location of this, or you can't give this information out about that, or why would we share this knowledge about this without, we've got members to look after. And it's really the wrong attitude, that insular, negative, keep it to ourselves, don't involve the outside world. It just doesn't work. Knowledge is power. And the night sky, I said this on an interview with the ABC when we had the grand opening for the All Abilities telescope up at the Dark Sky site. And I said it on the interview there. I said that the sky belongs to everyone. We need to share it with everyone, and it's important. I mean, you look at what's happening in the world with NASA and SpaceX and ESA, and with James Webb and that. There's so much happening in the world of science and astronomy at the moment that we'd be silly not to share that knowledge and have our members share their knowledge, and then that inspire younger generations to become members who then go on to university to do science and astrophysics and all of the other. All the other parts of, I'm trying to think of the right word. Basically just bring people into the world of scientific research, because that's where we're going. And the ASV can play a leading role in that, and we should.
Well, my next question was, what are your plans for the future with the ASV? But I think we've sort of gotten into that.
I think we've covered that off,
Yeah.
To destroy it, burn it to the ground, and take the money and run.
Probably don't do that.
No.
Not until the observatory is funded.
Just between you and I, that's apparently what I'm going to be doing. Oh, hang on, this is live, isn't it? Shit, so.
Oh no. So my last question for you, and it's sort of 2 bits. So, what's your favorite astronomical object to look at, and what's your favorite to actually image?
Okay, so my favourite one to look at is Ghost of Jupiter. I'm like a little 5-year-old kid when Ghost of Jupiter. It's like, oh, Ghost of Jupiter, yeah. I just love it. Looks nothing like Jupiter. It's like a teal, bluey, green colour. But it's just such a beautiful thing to see. Like, you see that colour when you look at it through a telescope. Even from my backyard, when I look at it through a telescope, I see that, as I like to call it. I call it Gemini teal. So the old Holden Gemini teal blue that you used to get. That's
Yeah.
the color that it looks like to me.
Yes.
And I just love looking at it visually. It's so cool.
So for anyone who had to look it up, this is NGC 3242, which is a planetary nebula.
It is a planetary nebula, and you can see, like, even so, I have imaged it with my phone, and you can even, imaging it with a phone, you can see the star in the center of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so cool, though. It's a really cool one.
Yes.
Imaging wise, I did what all astrophotographers do as an astrophonetographer, and I cut my teeth on Orion. I really like Orion because it's just cool. But it's a toughie. It's a toughie. Hang on, I need to go and have a quick peek at my Flickr. My Flickr. Let's see what we got. I reckon I'm going to say Tarantula Nebula.
That's a good
and
choice.
It's nearly Tarantula Nebula season. So it would be a toss-up between three, Tarantula Nebula, Orion, and I quite like imaging the Lagoon Triffid area, which I did last night, which is also the reason that my video is probably jumping because it's stacking in the background and I can't stop it. If I stop it, I have to start it all over again.
Yeah.
I thought it'd be finished before we started, but it wasn't.
Yeah. Tarantula is amazing. I think I got my first view of it through a telescope actually at that All Abilities telescope opening. I may have seen it through one of the Melbourne Uni's telescopes, but definitely through the bigger ones there. It's just amazing.
I love it, especially when you put like an O3 filter on it through the visual telescopes, and it looks like it's. So I always describe Tarantula Nebula as a dead spider on its back with its legs. That's to me what it is, what it looks like.
Yeah, you can see it. Yeah. Sorry. So should we move on to your quiz? I have been planning this one for some time, I would say.
Oh, really?
Before I mentioned to you that we could do this episode where we drew each other, because Mark starts with an M, and one of the shows that I've been watching recently is the show Murder, She Wrote. So,
oh my god! You know what's really funny about this?
Yeah,
and I shit you not, that the lady from Murder She Wrote was Angela Lansbury.
Yes.
She's
not one of the questions, but
I know, but she's the dead ringer of my nana, my mum's mum. Like, we would joke that my mum's mum, that my nana was Angela Lansbury's doppelganger. So this is like perfectly appropriate.
Alrighty, ready?
Yep.
So you've got 4 out of 5 to beat. So we'll see how
I'm
you
not
do.
going to, because I did watch Murder, She Wrote as a kid with my grandmother and with my just in general, but I probably won't remember it, because I remember things like the Hawaiian pizza I delivered to the stoned guy up in Belgrave in the hills there back in 1997, and he tipped it sideways and the pizza fell out. The dog ate it, and then he scraped it all back up. So I remember stuff like that, but I won't remember anything from Murder, She Wrote.
All right, so my first question for you is, which fictional character was Angela Lansbury's character Jessica Fletcher based on?
Which fictional character? Inspector Clouseau.
Is that your answer?
Yeah.
Or is that... no, so it's actually Miss Marple from Agatha Christie. Because Lansbury had appeared as Miss Marple in a previous production, Mirror Correct. Yeah. And they wanted to make a Miss Marple adaptation, and that didn't quite work out. So they sort of rejigged things into Murder, She Wrote, which I think is very cool. Sort of a character written by a famous author who then turns into a character who is a famous author. All right, next question.
I had no idea. I'm going to get 0. I'm telling you now.
That's okay. You have to set a baseline for like
everyone else.
Guests.
Yep.
How many people live in Fletcher's hometown of Cabot Cove, Maine?
Do I get it? Can I get within a range on this?
You can get within a range, yes, because it does change as the as the show goes on.
I'm going to go 500.
It's actually a bit more. Do you want to have another guess? Or
Oh, in that case, it's probably 2,500.
close? Yeah, so 3,560. So they do show occasionally.
It was never going to be a lot of people. It was always going to be, under 1,000 or under 5,000.
All right, you may get this one. I don't know. Which 80s private investigator had crossover episodes with Murder, She Wrote?
Oh, there was the dude with the white hair. I know who he is. I just can't think of his bloody name right now. I'm right, aren't I?
I don't know.
It was a male. It was a male one. It was a male guy. I know that much. I cannot think of his name. No, I know the face. It's the Dick Van Dyke character.
As in played by Dick Van Dyke?
Yeah.
No.
No? Well, then it's the other one. There's another one. It was either one of those two, and I can't think of the other guy. I know Angela Lansbury and Dick Van Dyke did a lot of movies and stuff together. Bed Knobs and Broomsticks, one of my favourites. Never forget that.
I've only seen it once.
It's a classic movie. Classic kids movie, that one. No, I don't know. I don't know his name, but I know what I've actually.
When I say it, will you be very annoyed? When I say it, will you be very annoyed?
Probably, because I know the person. I know the face.
So it's Magnum PI with Tom Selleck.
Yeah. Yeah. He did a lot of stuff like that back then. Yeah.
Yes.
Duh.
Very common.
Hate it when I know, but I don't know. That sucks.
Alrighty. So that episode.
One of my 3 zeros so far.
Yeah, so that episode was set in Hawaii, which is where Magnum PI was set. And so the first episode is a Magnum PI episode, and then the second part of the story is a Murder, She Wrote episode. Yeah. It's actually not a bad one, as crossovers tend to go. All right, how many novels has Jessica Fletcher written?
Oh, dozens. She's written lots.
I'm
going to go with 30. Probably going to be higher than that, actually.
It's pretty close. So there are 42 ones that are named in the show, but the actual number is never actually given. So some examples. The first one is The Corpse Dance at Midnight. There's Dirge for a Dead Dachshund. Calvin Canterbury's Revenge, which a lot of these are just books that I would like to read. Basically every episode she's working on a different novel. All right, and my last question for you, your last chance. How many Emmys did the series win?
It'd be more than 10. I'm going with 12.
12? So yeah. It was nominated for 41 Emmys, but only won 2 in the whole series run.
So I really thought it would have won more than that.
Yeah. Angela Lansbury was nominated every year from 1985 to 1996, but didn't win at all. So she is the record holder for the most Emmy nominations for Outstanding Lead Actress in a Drama Series with 12, one for each season, but she never won, which is also a record. She really embodies this like widow, elderly, lives in a small town, just gets her nose stuck into everything that's not her business, but in a really charming way.
That is my nana.
Alrighty, there you go.
The joke was that you could never tell my nana anything because she would tell everybody, and if you wanted everybody to know something, you would tell her. Yes. Then everybody would find out. I got 0 out of 5. I got none.
You were reasonably close with the population question, but
that's about it. Yeah, that's about it. Not the greatest when it comes to those sort of things. My knowledge, my useless facts knowledge comes in the form of music. Quite often you can hear the very start of a song, like a second of it or less even, and I'll know what the song is and the band. That sort of stuff I'm really good at. But TV shows that I watched as a child, no. So I guess that means it's my turn to interview you now.
It is your turn.
So, because we're two such interesting people, we're not going to be able to fit this podcast into one episode. So we're going to do a trilogy in 2 parts, and we will be back To be
Yes.
continued.
To be continued.
See you on the other side of the podcast. Thanks for listening and supporting us as we continue to learn on our podcast journey. If you would like to contribute to the podcast, you can head to www.patreon.com/Spaghettification podcast and support us for as little as 1 can of beer a day.